I love, again, McVay is matching their energy, their comedic tone here, but watch, he's about to shift this whole thing, and he's going to show, yeah, I'm an NFL head coach. I know more than you. This is why.
Some people might have been thinking that. That's 9 points.
Do coaches get piss tested? Because I thought that he should have gotten one after that game.
I love you. He's going to text us after this because we bring this up.
Remember when I had you come up to him at Indianapolis?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my guy, though. You know what, though? Here's what I will say.
The tone change right there.
In all, when you look at it, especially like going into year 8, it's amazing the amount of situations you go through where you're saying, it seems so clear, and man, that 40-second clock goes real freaking quick.
Yeah.
And if you're coming out of a timeout and it's 25 seconds, and such a big deal of is learning from some of your mistakes or things if you would do it differently. I don't know that there's as clear cut of a right or wrong answer as what we're talking about with me. And I actually do mean that just based on the flow of the game and where they were going and how their defense was playing at that point in time. But
that's where I hit in the video game. That's where I hit the start menu. So you don't have to burn a timeout.
So let me ask you this. So how would you guys have played 3rd and 8 to 4th and 8?
3rd and 8 to 4th and 8?
Yeah.
I probably would have run the ball.
Yeah.
Run the ball on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Make it manageable.
And I you know what? I can't say that I don't think that's a sound thought process.
Yeah, that's what I know. Army does that. Well, they run the ball anyways, but when they plan out their scenarios, they just anticipate. Okay, we're going to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah,
like almost every time.
Yeah.
So we treat it like it's 1st and 8 every time.
That's how a lot of these teams do handle it. If you know you're going to get to a certain thing, so you can play some percentages, do it a little bit differently.
Yeah,
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We have zero accountability for anything, so we do get to feel smart when we come out on the right side of it. But nothing gets me more upset as a fan than if a coach makes a mistake and then they just dig in on it afterwards and they don't admit that it was a mistake, and they don't learn from it. So there are probably a lot of Rams fans listening right now. They're like, well, at least
no, you took accountability right away.
He's moving forward.
Yeah.
No, you know what though? If we tell our players that, like, all kidding aside, if we're saying, all right, let's have accountability be one of the most important things, and it's hard for us to move on if we can't acknowledge, like, all right, where we're wrong.
Right.
And let's be selfless and secure enough to be able to admit that. And if I'm asking something of our players, then I better be willing to do it. And then there are some times when you say, some things didn't go down, but was the thought process sound?
Yeah.
And usually when I get the most, when I get mad at myself, or when you're saying, all right, you didn't either think about this beforehand, you didn't play it right in terms of the sequencing of what led up to that 4th down, or sometimes it doesn't go down for you. Like there was some play calls like in the Super Bowl drive.
Well, listen, but I just want to say this is one of the reasons Sean McVay is one of the best head coaches in NFL history. And especially probably the best culture builder in terms of coaching. He keeps himself accountable. He keeps those around him accountable. And he has the humility to admit when he messed up. There are so many coaches that they double down on their mistakes. And it comes across as disingenuous or, lack of self-awareness. And I think that just in terms of, that kind of intellectual, personality traits you want in your head coach, Sean McVay has those traits. And as a fan of the team, I appreciate that. I appreciate having a humble, smart head coach who, he's not afraid of criticism. And if anything, he takes criticism quite well because he is often criticized.
The one play that Stafford no looks, that was a terrible play call. It was. But, that's like the worst coverage ever. He no looks a hook defender dropping right off into that zone. He has enough feel for the backside player, and it's a 20-plus yard gain.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you're saying, all right, 4th and 1, we go for it on the jet sweep. Cup makes a great run. Well, if he trips, is it a bad call? No, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's where you have to be honest with yourself. And it's hard because there's stakes at hand and it's so public.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be able to make sure that, you're
process,
fair about that.
not results.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also like, all right, let's make sure that, what led to it. And it goes both ways, right? Like if it works out, you still have to acknowledge, even though it doesn't sting as much, all right, that shit wasn't sound.
Right. Yeah. Right. So in the 4th quarter of the Super Bowl, I have to imagine you're talking about like the adrenaline earlier.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? Like, were you actually feeling, was the heart rate up? Were you feeling different? Were you trying to actively calm yourself down?
Yeah. You know what? I would say this, because I handled the 18 Super Bowls so poorly. And really, it was such a blur. Like, I mean, honestly, I think the games that are the clearest, and it's all mental for us.
I love just the humility again. And I've heard him say stuff like this before, but just you love hearing it. And, he's a grown man. He's able to admit when he made a mistake.
As coaches are when you're just there, you're seeing the game, you're able to make adjustments, you're able to communicate clearly to your players, you're getting to stuff if things go a little bit different than what was expected. And even though early on we kind of saw it, it was just such a blur where it just went, it was, whether you want to say I wasn't doing a good enough job. So I wanted to make sure you say, just try to be in the moment. Don't make some of the same mistakes twice. And there was an element, our defense was playing so well. We obviously had some injuries, losing Odell, even Van Jefferson was banged up at that point. But I thought our guys stayed the course. The defense gave us an opportunity. And then when we had to have it, I felt like our guys did an excellent job executing. And I did think there was at least some clarity of thought, even though all the play calls weren't exactly what you would want.
So I actually had this question. The 18 Super Bowl you've talked about, like, hey, that was my first Super Bowl. Yeah. It didn't go well. I could have done a better job. Did winning the Super Bowl in 21 kind of take a little bit of that sting away? Or is it something that you still are like, man, I let that one go?
It's funny. I'll still always feel like I let guys down that had an opportunity, the John Sullivans of the world, the coaches that were there, even, you want to win that so bad for your players, Todd Gurley's, Michael Brocker. There was a lot of special guys that were a part of that football team. And I felt very responsible for that. But I think you want to always channel things the right way. And here's what I will say to that. In the 21 season, it was cool because there were so many guys that you wanted it for, even more than yourself.
Yeah.
And there was a clarity and there was a purity in that journey. And I think the adversity we faced, where there was real grit that had to be established, wasn't something that you can fake. And when you have a lot of guys that it meant something to them, but they didn't want to let each other down, whether it was people for Aaron, people for Whitworth, Eric Weddle, Jalen Ramsey, Vaughn, Odell, Matthew Cooper, the Rob Havensteins, even though Higbee wasn't able to play, there was a lot of special guys that were a part of it.
Yeah.
And so,
again, just you love that Sean McVay. He's a coach. He's so quick to praise his players, to talk about others, honor others, and just recognize the importance of a game in their lives, right? And just love that. Love that.